Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I've been practicing law in Michigan for 31 years now, with a bulk of that time spent doing consumer protection. And so I thought I'd heard it all. And then once in a while something comes along and it's like, nope, someone's come up with something new. And so Michael and Daryl both sent this to me from the Boston.com website, although the New York Times published it first. Vimal Patel wrote it. A financial services company is illegally leasing dogs. Dogs are being leased. Not sold, but leased. A Boston resident was shocked to learn she didn't own her dog, but was rather leasing her dog, as if he were a car or an apartment. Shortly after she lost her job and failed to make payments on what she thought was a loan to buy a dog, a collections agent in 2019 threatened to take away her dog, who, by the way, is named Milo. She said, I was like, what do you mean you can take my dog away? She's 22 years old. She said, I was so confused. The Boston resident was shocked to learn that she didn't own her dog, but rather was leasing Milo as if he were a car or an apartment. It is a practice that some states have made illegal, including Massachusetts, which is where this woman lives. So on Wednesday, the Massachusetts Attorney General announced that a California-based financial services company had agreed to $900,000 in debt relief and restitution to settle allegations that it was illegally leasing dogs in Massachusetts. Under the agreement filed in a superior court, a financial services company based in Oceanside must waive outstanding debt on these leases, provide payments to some consumers, and transfer full ownership of the dogs to the Massachusetts residents. They think there may have been hundreds of them in Massachusetts alone, people who had leased dogs. It's according to the Attorney General, Maura Healey. Families in Massachusetts looking to get a dog should not be trapped in leasing agreements that are harmful, expensive, and illegal. We will take action to stop this exploitive practice of using dogs as emotional leverage. I was thinking about this, and it's like, wait, so if someone signs a contract and gets delivery of a dog and they don't realize that they signed a lease, but they thought they were signing a purchase agreement, but signed a lease. How long is the lease for? Is there a buyout at the end of the lease? What if the dog tragically passes away before the end of the lease? Do you have to keep making payments? Can you return the dog and stop making payments if you change your mind? I mean, I'm curious about some of these things because we know how that works with, like, I don't know, cars or an apartment or something. But what about a dog? The agreement states that the company violated Massachusetts consumer protection laws by buying and collecting on leases for dogs, and that they also used illegal collection practices. The document states that the company does not admit or deny, of course, any of the allegations raised by the Attorney General. In a statement Thursday, the company said that its A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau was the product of its professionalism and adherence to compliance. While we disagree with the state's findings, we have elected to come to an agreement to move away from this issue to best serve our clients, the statement said, not explaining exactly what part of the Attorney General's findings it disputes. The company has and continues to strive to employ business practices in full accordance with all applicable laws and regulations. The American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals said the practice of leasing pets was believed to have started around 2013, when a Nevada-based company would transfer its debt to this other company after the animal was purchased. Consumers don't interact with these companies during the application process, according to the ASPCA, and the word lease is not mentioned in the promotional material. We've heard stories about pet stores simply handing the consumer a tablet to initial and sign, so consumers don't see the full contract until the first payment is due, which is often done by auto withdrawal. This is according to Kevin O'Neill, Vice President of State Affairs for ASPCA. He said by then the dog, of course, is in their home. As officials became more aware of this practice, states began outlawing it. Since 2017, 8 states created laws specifically outlawing the leasing of pets. California, Connecticut, Indiana, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Nevada, New York, and Washington State, according to the ASPCA. Illinois, the group said, has a broader restriction prohibiting financing of pet sales, not just leases, but financing over time. And what's crazy about this is I'm suspecting that inflation has kicked in quite a bit. As anybody who's been a longtime viewer of this channel knows, At the end of every video, it says, remember Milo and Wolfie. And Milo and Wolfie were the two Shetland sheepdogs that I had years ago. And they both passed away, and so they're gone now. And I've done videos about them and so on. But I think, and I hate, you always hate to think that you're buying a member of your family. But I don't think Milo or Wolfie either cost more than $500 each. I think it's $400 possibly. I don't know the exact numbers. I forgot. Obviously, there's more that goes into having a pet than just the cost of acquiring the pet. But I'm reasonably certain that it was in the $400 to $500 range. Now, I've heard of other pets, particularly the popular like retrievers and so on, going for much, much more. But the idea that they go for so much, that you make payments over time, seems a little odd to me, unless, of course, you're just going into a pet store and using a credit card. That makes a little bit of sense to me. But the idea that there's finance companies out that specialize in financing pet purchases, if there's that much money in it, it's got to be coming from somewhere. And it's probably coming from the consumers, meaning that they're being overcharged. Under the arrangements that we're talking about, the individual must make monthly payments for the duration of the lease, and often must make an extra payment at the end to buy out the lease, in essence, or to finally pay for the pet. The AG's office in Massachusetts has been conducting investigations into financial companies that originated or bought dog leases. So it could be that a store signs the person up and then sells the paper, as they say. Animal rights activists such as the ASPCA have criticized the practice. They said in July 2018 that pet leases are predatory arrangements, often padded with large fees and heavy default penalties that could end up costing buyers many times the original price tag of the animal. The woman at the beginning of the story here says she felt misled when she obtained Milo, who is 3 years old and her frequent travel companion, from a pet store in a mall outside of Boston in 2019. They never, not once, said it was a lease. She said they always said finance, finance, finance. And when she defaulted on the lease, she said, collectors demanded $13,000, which is more than 3 times the price tag of the dog. And they said, well, pay us, we're going to take him away from you. I didn't read the fine print when I was signing, she said. Make sure you know what you're getting into for dog leasing or for anything. And that's the one question mark I have, and that is, I've not seen one of these leases. Seen a lot of stuff in my life. I've not seen a pet lease. I'd like to see one because I'm curious to know. Because quite often, as you might know, if you purchase a car, for instance, or you lease a car, there's all kinds of Truth in Lending Act, Truth in Leasing Act laws that say that they've got to disclose to you in bold, clear terms at the beginning what you're getting into. It's very, very difficult for someone to leave a dealership in an automobile and honestly not know if they've leased it or they've purchased it. That should by now be something that's not prone to confusion. I've heard of people who've entered into leases and purchase agreements that were complicated or that had things in them they missed because, when you buy a car nowadays, the retail installment sales contract might be like 17 inches long and 8.5 wide, and you flip it over and the backside's covered with stuff also, and it's really, really tiny print. There's all kinds of clauses, and if this happens and this happens, that kind of stuff. And the problem, of course, that I'm getting at here is that the top does say, automobile purchase finance agreement or something at the top, or automobile lease agreement at the top. And so I've also seen what they're talking about. My last cell phone, I'm reasonably certain that when I was at the store, they said, okay, here's the contract, sign here, and they spin that little card reader around, and it's got a screen on it that's got some language. And if you want to, you can scroll through it and read it if you want to spend all day at the store. But I've bought enough phones from the same company that I think I pretty much understand how it works. And so you just click yes and you sign it. And they print it out for you on a receipt that looks like it came from CVS, only it's shorter. And, it's this language. And so, but I always make sure that I know what the terms are. And so far, they've always been honest with me, so that works. But the strange part here is it sounds like people go into a pet store. The pet store says, here's how much this dog costs. And when somebody goes, oh, that's a lot of money, I'm not sure, they say, well, we can finance you. Finance. And the term finance sounds like you're purchasing, but could be a lease. So you got to find this stuff out. So the fact that these are completely outlawed surprised me in 8 states, but the laws are there on the books. That means, of course, that 42 states have not outlawed it yet. But if nothing else, the finance terms should be clear. So be careful when you're buying something like a pet and someone says, oh, we can finance it for you. Find out what the terms of the financing are. Make sure that you're buying versus leasing, or at least if you're leasing, that you know that. And again, I'm getting back to the whole thing about leasing a dog. You're leasing it for a period of time, after which you make the final payment and then you buy out the lease. How does that work? I mean, that's just strange. Leasing is not something that seems well fitted to the world of dog purchases. So there you go. Crazy story. Michael and Daryl both sent it to me from Boston.com, and the New York Times, Vimal Patel wrote it. The Attorney General says a financial service company illegally leased dogs in that state. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Change comes with pain, but this pain later becomes a gain. Endure the pain and make a difference.